We ready to record? Okay. I'm just going to check in the attendees room if Beata is there.
Sorry, are we still in practice session?
No, we are live now.
Okay, no problem. Our wonderful colleague Annie Lynn is in the attendee list. If you could bring her over, she is a speaker. Thank you so much.
She has moved over.
Everything looks great. Thank you so much. And if Grant is ready, we can go ahead and get started.
Okay, thank you so much, Jennifer. And thanks very much, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. Welcome to this TASE briefing call, where we're going to be talking of the logistical elements and some of the practicalities that we all have to know or before the event itself, starting next week mid. But the core purpose is basically just for us to talk through, where can you get things and to help each other to navigate around the UN premises. These are one of the initiatives that we have been coordinating as the Secretariat, also working with Gce US and other partners to ensure that all our members are aware of what is happening, also where to get things. The Transforming Education Summit is one of the most important advocacy space that we need to engage as GCE. We have tried in the best that we can to ensure that we bring as many as we could, but due to budget constraints, we are not necessarily able to do that. But at least for those that will be able to attend, we hope and believe that they will carry the flag of GCE high and that they will represent the movement very well. There are various sessions that they're going to be attending. We have also tried our best to ensure that we bring to home the issue that we value the engagement of youth and students into the platform, and that's going to happen because there will be some youth and students that will be participating that will be also supporting. So we look forward to the engagement. Please watch on your social media if you are not necessarily being there, or watch things via the UN website TV, that you should be able to get as much information as you can. We have said in a number of times that the TASE process is not an end in itself. It is a start of a particular process. And we as GCE, we are so much privileged that we do have very strong national coalition, and everything else that will be decided in TASE will end at a national level. We as GCE, we are really preparing ourselves to really engage at a national level to hold governments account to the promises and to the commitments that they will make during the TASE event. So let's all be on the lookout of what our different governments will be making so that then we can follow up at the national level. Let's listen in, let's get as much information as we can during the event. As a secretariat, we'll be sharing as much information as we can to you, and feel free to engage with us, but also to those that will be attending the events. So looking forward to the discussions. Then I'll hand over to Jennifer. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that warm welcome, Grant. Just to confirm, can everybody hear? Good. Fantastic. Thank you. We're so delighted that many of you will be joining the TESS, the Transforming Education Summit in New York in just a few short days. My name is Jennifer Rigg. I serve as Executive Director at the Global Campaign for Education US, and also help to lead the inclusive education and early childhood community of practice across the GCE family and partners. So I'm going to quickly share, with thanks to Stephanie Pena, who is moderating in the chat box, some of the resources. And we wanted to help to make sure that everybody has a chance to share and introduce in the chat box. Please do use that to let us know what you're planning for TESS and beyond. And then very quickly, we wanted to thank the interpreters and also to help quickly show people that for any of these resources across the UN, for example, the main information about the summit itself, you can select in any of the UN languages. So I'm just going to quickly screen share. I hope, and do let me know, please, if that's visible for everybody. But this is one of the resources that gives more of the information that's coming with the transfer, with the summit itself. And you can select in the upper, I'm seeing it in the upper right-hand corner. Your web browser might be slightly different, but the option to translate specifically. I'm sure it's not nearly as good as the translation from our experts that have joined us today, but we are sharing these resources primarily in English with apologies, but we wanted to make sure everybody knows that you can navigate online and go ahead and make those changes to any of the UN languages directly. So we'll go ahead and share those resources now. We wanted to make sure everybody has access to the information about tests. It can be confusing to navigate, so please share your ideas, your information. We have wonderful experts joining this call, many of whom have been leading the different action track processes. So we wanted this to be a space where everybody could share ideas together for our advocacy throughout the summit to be as effective as possible. Stephanie Pena is kindly sharing the information link about tests in the chat. And then you can also go to the program itself. We understand from the test secretariat across the UN and the test mobilization hub that some of these materials are being updated live and in real time. So it's worth continuing to check those as your plans develop on your way to New York, if you'll be there attending, or like Grant said, if you'll be watching, joining in through the UN online TV live stream option as well. We also wanted to make sure everybody has access to the national commitments that have come through so far. Many of your governments have been posting national commitment statements, doing consultations. We understand some of that might continue after the summit as well. And then in particular, please take a look at the, it's a bit buried, but Annex 2 has guidance for national statements of commitment that also outlines, it looks like, for the Leaders' Day during tests, which will be on the 19th of September. All heads of state are invited to present a national statement of commitment or a speech of no more than 4 minutes. And we wanted to share that for you all so that you can see what our governments have been asked. And we hope that's helpful as you're doing your final advocacy. We'd love to hear from all of you how that's going, and maybe we can share ideas with one another, again, to make our advocacy not just for tests, but beyond, as effective as possible. In terms of ways to engage, there are many. Like Grant said, youth and students in particular, teachers, people who are involved in all aspects of education are really invited to share their voice and perspective. So there are a couple of different ways to engage that the test organizers have provided. And then there's a test knowledge hub, if you will, that sometimes allows you to delve more deeply. And Werner will go into this in a few moments about the different action tracks and the like. We know many of you have been really involved, not only leading the 5 action tracks, but also influencing those papers and those recommendations over the last few months. So thank you to all of you for your leadership and advocacy and partnership. From the test mobilization hub in particular, there are a few places, and apologies for this jargon. There's a test mobilization hub base camp. That's a great resource for behind the scenes information about what's being planned, not just for the events, but activations and advocacy and campaigning. And then you can also join a test mobilization hub WhatsApp group. So we're providing that link for everybody as well. That's being organized by the United Nations Foundation and others. And then they do have a survey on events and activations around tests. So if you're planning a side event or something like that, the survey lets you share that information. You can also add it directly to an online spreadsheet, and they encourage everything that's happening, even if it's not an event, but it's a chalking activity outside the UN or some sort of activity, bringing young people together at a cafe, no matter how informal it is. Amina Mohammed, we understand, is asking, please, we want to make sure that everything is known and can be amplified together as to what's underway, not just on the UN headquarters. So that TES activations, campaigns, and events spreadsheet is a Google spreadsheet, and you'll see there are lots of different tabs as well. Let me just very quickly share that so that's hopefully visible for everyone. If you have an event of some sort, you should go ahead and just add it. It's open source and open for people to do so under events. They do have this area for campaigns, which we'll go into a little bit more later. And then ways to engage young people. They had this open tab for test delegations that nobody had entered into. So I'd say let's go ahead and just add ourselves there. If you are going or you have somebody going, you can add that. They're asking for that information to be added and shared because they're looking for how to know who's planning to make it to New York, understanding that it's extremely challenging with sincere apologies about the visa constraints and the expense of travel. So they want to know especially which students and youth leaders will be there as they're making final plans on who's speaking at which events. And now there's going to be this space for announcements, and there are a couple of other places there, but in particular, if you are involved with a side event or whatnot, please do add that information here. And hopefully this will be a good resource as you're planning coverage on your end as well. And then quickly, there will of course be lots of other things happening, not just tests. And so on Monday, the 19th, there's a related Unlock the Future of Learning Festival. And we encourage everybody to join that live stream. And there will be interactive tools. We're working with World Vision, 100 Million, many partners along with the GCE family to help organize an education and emergencies youth-led focused spotlight session there. And I think there will be other important sessions on gender, on a variety of topics. So please do join on the 19th of September. And there's a social media guide for that Unlock the Future of Learning Festival to share as well. Our colleagues at the Global Citizen Festival will be live with commitments and music, both in New York and Accra on the 24th of September. If any of you plan to stay in New York all the way through that high-level UN week and would like to connect with our colleagues at Global Citizen, possibly to attend that festival, please do let us know. It will also be streamed live and on different broadcasting services. And then the 77th opening session of UNGA, or the UN General Assembly, will also be happening starting in just a few days, the 12th through the 27th of September. So we have a link. I know that's a lot to navigate, but we've pulled an overview from the UN that just gives a highlight of some of the themes, if that's helpful for your messaging for UNGA overall. But of course, the test itself is a great opportunity for all of us with a focus on transforming education. And then finally, for GCE test participants, we're grateful to Werner and colleagues with the GCE Secretariat who had shared a document to please sign up and signal if you're planning to be there. And please let us know here or go ahead and add that information now if you can. So there's a lot happening. We're happy to answer questions, help each other navigate. We're also planning to, we'll share more information. We understand that the World Vision International Office in New York will be able to try to hold a session for people in New York on the 21st of September if you're able to stay after the tests a little bit or planning to be there that week to help to plan steps afterwards. And then we'll make sure to have those types of debrief opportunities as well. We know it can be extremely busy, but there's a real opportunity, I think, not just during the summit, but then to learn from it in real time and mobilize together. We're happy to answer questions in the chat. Please continue to share your thoughts, your ideas, that different ways that you're planning to get involved. If we've missed anything, because there's so much underway, please don't take it personally, but do share other things that you know of that are going on and other guidance. And with that, we're really so grateful to everybody who's been involved with this from the very beginning. We're so lucky that the GCE president himself, Rafat, has, as well as Helen, Dabu, David Edwards, and so many other people have been actively involved with the TESS Advisory Committee. And so I'm going to pass next to Rafat to share more about, from his vantage point, a preview of TES and ways that we can all be active together. Thank you so much. Over to you, Rafat.
Rifat, are you there?
Yes.
Yes, go on, please.
You're asking Grant, not asking me. I was listening in the Arabic translation. In other words, as I understand from Jennifer, just to give overall picture about what has been done through our involvement in this advisory committee and also in the coming days. As all of you know that the New York meeting is political meeting. It is not technical. So it's very important to know that, and that GCE to focus on the political discourse much more than the technical issue. Here, that's beside our involvement in the workshop, in the side events, in the even with the Youth Day, all betweens, or in the 19th, our voice should be also political. This is very important, and this is where we have to agree the messages that we have to send. It's very important for me if there is any chance that we can meet even 15th or early 16th while we are in attending the Youth Day. It's very important for that. That's why I think it's also important that GCE communication raise and scale up the messages through all the social media. Actually, this is what happened in the last year in the advisory committee. All the people in the discussion are also, there is political behind any intervention. Till we came up with all these documents, the 5 tracks, beside the vision of the General Secretary. This is very important also to go over the vision of the General Secretary, because also this will become one of the important outcome of the summit, as well as the 5 tracks. And I hope they will finalize translating all the document in all languages. Then all the people will know more deeply what was the discussion. This is one of the problems that we face, because the language almost English or English and the French. This is one of the problem that we mention always. When you are speaking about transforming educational system in all over the world, and you are speaking about transformative theory, the language is very important. Without understanding the language and the culture, you cannot make any step regarding the transforming education or transformative education, because also these concepts and these definitions is very important for GCE members to know from their perspective culture, because there's difference always between the verb and the noun, between the theory and the action. So the 5 tracks is very important for the people to look at it, not just from how they finalize it, but also from your critical point of view. Not all the people agreed about everything. This is the minimum that the people can reach sometimes to agree. Otherwise, the people will not reach agreement. This is our understanding, that sometimes you have to agree about the minimum in order to go further. So GCE, they have a lot of things to do in front of them. One of the I will speaking in 17 and also during the side event of GCE, but I have also I will have a speech in 19th. And in 19th, it's the Leaders' Day, whereas the attendants ask the ministers, the leaders, they have been asked also to give political commitment. So what GCE should do, as Jennifer mentioned, if most of us will stay in the 21st, let's us to meet because we will be there then fresh. We will have a fresh mind, so we can discuss what our next step. This is the most important is the action commitment, and this is what we expect from all the governments, all the organization to do, is to give political commitment and also action commitment. So I think GCE did well in this event and this subject. Now the question, what we can do next, how we can do also our government at the national level, how we can also be questionnaire them about this, how we also put them under accountability, also how we can be really a very effective part of all the future plan for this, because I consider this also its opportunity. When the governments they sign this declaration, all of them they will give political commitment to the future action plan to implement the outcome of this summit. This is also opportunity for us as a civil society to ask them, this is what you have signed, and I do believe that the transformative idea is very important to change the role of the education. The role of the role of the education really should change the role of the learners, the role of the teachers, the role of the curricula. We should criticize, analyze, which this should give us space to interfere in all these sides around the educational system. I am sure that all GCE who will attend in New York will be also in contact with those who didn't able to come. This is the responsibility of GCE, and really I'd like to thank the GCE Secretariat, the coalitions, and especially my friend Grant, who is really following with me each night, each day, to be sure that at least GCE will be visible, active education. Our voice will be really heard strongly. Thank you. Jennifer, over you, or
Perfect. Thank you so much. Werner, please come in.
Thank you very much, colleagues. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. So, well, first of all, yeah, we have been working very hard in order to have a good participation during the Transforming Education Summit, and we managed to do it. I mean, we have organized meaningful participation. I think that in all fronts, we have been working hard in the organization of the Youth Day on the 16th, trying to come up with a powerful youth declaration as well. And this work has been led by our colleague Vicky. And then for the 17th also, we have been working hard in order to put together a powerful side event, as well as supporting other side events that are currently under organization. So let me just quickly inform a bit on the registration process. As you all know, the registration closed for civil society organizations, but we are still waiting for confirmation. So please don't panic if you haven't received a confirmation for the 16 and 17 events. There is still time. So we are, yes, waiting for more confirmations in the next hours, in the next 1 or 2 days. So there is still room, and we know that the TES Secretariat is working on that. For the 19, as you can imagine, it will be very restrictive. So we are not positive we are not optimistic to have a big participation from CSO. Although we are very happy that our GC president, Rifat Sabah, will be sharing the platform with the head of states and ambassadors. So the GCE family will be very well represented there. All the events will be mainstream, so we can have the chance to see the ceremony and the event in general. Then GC will be organizing an informal gathering for those who are attending in person in New York. So we just shared the information for those who are attending. Please register and let us know, because we are organizing a gathering, an informal gathering, in order to take advantage of the opportunity and to discuss a bit the Transforming Education Summit and other issues. So this will be led by Cristina. Cristina will be sharing more information in the coming days about this informal gathering. Thanks to Jennifer to facilitate also, and to Stephanie, sorry, to facilitate the venue. So we'll be informing soon about this informal gathering. GC is also organizing bilateral meetings with different stakeholders in order to strengthen our connections with the UN world. So this is something that we will be able to inform at a later stage. And then regarding also, we are also preparing a political statement. So I will share with you in the chat box more information about how to contribute to the political statement. And finally, we are organizing the side event in order to present the Education Financing Observatory. As you know, we have been working in a pilot experience for the observatory. So we will be sharing this information. And we will be launching the observatory itself with the participation of 2 ministers of state, one the Minister of Education from Argentina, and the other one the Minister of Education of Malawi, who kindly agreed to co-host this event together with GC, CCNGO, CLADE, GC US, and Education International and Action Aid. So we will be launching the observatory, and we will have the opportunity to gather not only the ministers, but also Helen Dabu from ASBAR, Annie Lin from GC US, Abdul Alasmi from ABEX, and Muwena Maluleke, who will be moderating the event. And our colleague, Luis Eduardo Perez Murcia, will be the main presenter of this initiative, the observatory. So this is what I want to share with you. We're excited about this possibility, and we think that we will have really a good opportunity to present this initiative. So thank you so much, and open to any question that you might have. Thank you.
Werner, it's amazing to hear all of the things that are underway. It sounds fantastic. Huge thanks to all of you for making this happen. And we know our colleague Nafisa with Light for the World and on the GCE board is joining briefly between meetings. So I hope you can come in, Nafisa. Please open up your video if you're able, but if you're able just to do audio, we understand. Welcome.
Thank you, Jennifer. And hello to the whole GCE family. Yes, this test is really an exciting moment in education. It's the biggest education gathering and at this level in our generation. So I think it's really important that we make a big push for serious commitments to students who are marginalized. We are actually having a side event. I thought many of the GCE members who are involved in disability inclusive education are holding a side event on Solutions Day. Some of those who are involved are Humanity and Inclusion, my organization Light for the World, ANSEFA, CBM, Sightsavers, and also the global IDDC, the International Disability and Development Consortium, GCE US, and the GLAD Network. It's a global action on disability. We are co-sponsored by UNICEF and South Africa and Sierra Leone. What is really exciting, we will, like I said, our side event is called Transforming Commitments into Real Solutions for Disability Inclusive Education. We're hoping to shed light on not just the challenges, but also real solutions that have come from Sierra Leone, South Africa, and what our many donors are doing to kind of incentivize and promote disability inclusion. There is also a call to action that will be presented that we will launch. And the call to action, we thought we wanted to be bold this time and really ask that the look at ways to make sure that 240 million girls and boys with disabilities stand a real chance to be included in the by 2030, or at least if we make tangible progress there from here onwards. So maybe I just want to share a little bit about our call to action. That is still actually, we're still firming things up, the wording, like I know many others are on their call to action. So we are asking for at least 5% of education budgets to be dedicated to disability inclusion and across budget lines, and also that all students, learners with disabilities, are reached through education program with a target of at least 10% of learners per country, and that all education funded programs and grants mainstream disability and make it a core criterion for accessing funds. So this is just some of the call to action that are out there, and we are using actually one of the key solutions that we are putting forward is the gender responsive and disability inclusive budgeting toolkit that we created with GCE. I know many of you contributed as well, and Action Aid. So this is also going to be highlighted as a key solution moving forward. So it would be great to hear for those in New York to join us, and those who know people who are going to be in New York, please share about our side event, and it'd be great to see you there. And also the call to action, would really love your support and endorsement. Sorry, last thing I forgot to mention is on Solutions Day, in the plenary event, we also have Maysoon Saeed, who's a comedian and actress. She's Palestinian. She is American Palestinian, and she will also, and has a disability. She has cerebral palsy. She will also be in the Solutions Day plenary event. So we're also so excited to have representation of a person with a disability as well in that plenary session on Solutions Day, and she will also be at our side events. So just thought I'll give you a bit of an insight of what's happening. Yeah. Thanks, Jennifer and Vernon, the team, for allowing us to talk a little bit. I believe that Sightsavers will talk about the Do Your Homework campaign, right, Jennifer? I would not have to share about that. Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Nafisa, and huge applause to everybody for your amazing work together in short time, with very short time to prepare. So yeah, our colleagues from Sightsavers, Julia with HI is on the line as well. I believe that Mariana and the team from Sightsavers could not join today, but they are doing amazing work. And so we'll share that for all of you if you haven't seen it yet. We're in the midst of a Do Your Homework campaign, really emphasizing the need for all leaders to commit and implement those commitments to reach all children, youth, people throughout the for lifelong learning as well. And that emphasizes children and youth with disabilities. So we'll share that, and huge thanks to Stephanie for quickly pulling all of these links into one document that's also been shared in the chat. And we did want to make sure you have on the social media front, we're grateful Palani will speak more about GCE communications in a few moments, but the TES organizers also have a broader TES social media pack that's available. They're using hashtags like Transforming Education and Let Me Learn. And there is a Trello board as well from the TES Mobilization Hub for lots of visuals, social media content that you can adapt. And our colleague Annie will speak next about some of the amazing youth and student-led work underway, but we just wanted to mention that the Let Me Learn campaign also launched last month, and that's another possibility. Their World and others have been doing quite a bit of work on that, but with that hashtag of Let Me Learn, if you're looking to emphasize on your social media channels, different demands, different focus areas that you want world leaders to bring to the Transforming Education Summit in particular. So with that, we're really delighted that Annie Lynn will guide us through the youth and student engagement aspects. Over to you, Annie.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Great. This is Annie Lynn, student fellow from Global Campaign for Education US. So I'm going to share a little bit about the youth engagement side of TES. So as many of you probably know, there is a mobilization day on the 16th of September. I will be there. It is a youth-led and youth-organized day that will allow youth to engage on transforming education. And I just looked on the website, and it looks like the Youth-Led Mobilization Day program, the official agenda, has been released, and I can put that in the chat. So a key component of this day will be the reveal of the youth declaration, and that's been an ongoing process that's been shaped by the in-person consultation at the pre-summit and then online consultations throughout the summer. And then for students and youth who may not be able to attend, be in New York, there is a Transforming Education youth chat on Twitter today at 10 a.m. ET. And I think Stephanie just shared the link into the chat. There is also a youth declaration page on the TES website, a discussion board where youth can go on and share their stories online using the comment section. And then there are a few other surveys. For example, the hashtag World's To-Do List, the UNICEF and UNESCO Transforming Education Summit. Those are all online engagement opportunities for youth to get on and share their stories and make noise. And then we also, if your organizations are planning to send youth, students and youth, please share their headshot, their bio, their interests and dates that they will be in New York on the TES base camp. I think the TES mobilization and the TES organizers are really trying to get a better sense of which youth and students will be in New York and what events they will be participating in and engaging in. So please let us know if you are a youth or student, or if you know of a youth or student who will be in New York City. And I personally will be there, so it'd be great to further engage. And if you hear anything more on the youth engagement side, please reach out and share the information throughout the GCE family. Thanks so much.
Thank you for all your work, Annie. And if others are on the line who've been involved with the youth declaration process or have interest, you know that students and youth or others will be coming to New York for TES, please do share. And with that, that will help us to mobilize and do communications, no matter if you're in New York or wherever you are around the globe. So we're delighted that Palani will be joining us next to talk about GCE communication strategies. Thanks.
Thank you, Jennifer, and warm greetings to everyone who is in this call. The GCE communication work will largely depend on the content that is going to be created on the ground, rather, by those that have been deployed by the movement. And there are quite a few specifics that we'll be focusing on to make sure that we amplify the events and everything that will be taking place during the TES. The GCE Secretariat representatives will be on the ground and they'll be able to use our social media directly from the ground. We will also be on standby as comms officers just to support and amplify all the digital action that will be taking place. We also track the UN TV and monitor specific events in the event that perhaps some of our site events will be live streamed from there, then we'll be able to reshare that and also transcribe some key highlights for us to create social media messaging. We also just encouraging everyone that will be attending on behalf of the movement to just create content and share with us live through the WhatsApp group that has been created, and also other TES communication network that we are also part of. And in this process, we just encourage you to make sure that within the events that you'll be attending, be it the GCE side event or other key side events, just be able to record, for example, short videos and share them with us so that we can be able to amplify them through our social media platforms. We also just encourage as well that after each and every session, you will be able to share with us some reflective takeaway outcomes of those sessions, and we can summarize them and publicize them also on our digital platforms. Towards the end of the day for each and every session, we are also looking forward to creating a space discussions on Twitter more specifically, so that we can be able to have this conversation as a form of reflection of what would have transpired during the day. We are be able to concretize it and share the details with you. And we also just encourage you to scan for opportunities for post-TES action, for example, policy and advocacy action or campaign actions that we can be able to trace post the event. We will also be posting TES resources and information as they emerge from the ground on the GC website and also through members' mail. When the political statement is finalized, we'll also be able to distribute it across all the GCE membership and the partners that we work with. We are also finalizing the flyer for our site session. There's just a few changes that we need to input on it, including some of the logos that we had omitted. So after perhaps in the next hour or so, we'll be able to share it with your colleagues so that you can distribute and mobilize for our TES site event. Also, we are working on developing the social media toolkit for the Education Financing Observatory. So I'll be able to share that also with you so that we can be able to amplify the key messagings around that during the TES. And we hope that with this, we'll summarize everything, and it comes about to 11-point communication plan of action from our side. So finalize this and put it in writing and share it with you so that you can always refer to it when you're on the ground, so that you can be able to provide the content that we need so much, and also to make sure that you take each and every single opportunity that you have on the ground to create content to share with us. With that, thank you so much, Jennifer.
That's amazing. Thank you for all your work. And absolutely, we know many of you have already started communications, blogs, campaigning, social media work, etc. So please continue to share. And to keep us all connected, our wonderful GCE board member with Save the Children Norway, Bitha, is online to help share a way that everybody can connect. Thanks to you for getting us organized. And of course, please come in on anything else that you think would be helpful. Over to you.
Thanks so much, Jennifer, and also a huge thanks to GCE US and the GCE Secretariat for organizing this orientation. I think it's really glad to see everyone connecting and for having this opportunity to meet up and share our intel ahead of tests. And I have to admit, it's quite overwhelming with everything happening, but also really exciting. And I'm really keen to see how we as the GCE movement can utilize this moment as best as possible. So just very quickly, we know that a lot of colleagues are traveling to New York to attend TES and also UNGA events, and that a lot of colleagues will be interested in following events and advocacy efforts online. So in order to coordinate us, I thought it would be useful with a joint WhatsApp group. I think there will be, yeah, so it's being shared now in the chat. So everyone who wants to be connected in New York or who wants to continuously receive information on what's going on, please join the WhatsApp group. I think this group will serve many purposes. So I think one is to share more information about actual meetups for physical hangouts in New York. As Werner mentioned, the Gce Secretariat is trying to organize an informal gathering. And Refat also mentioned that there might be a chance to meet up with colleagues who are already in New York on the 15th to provide further input to some of the key talking points from Gce. And then there might also be other opportunities happening either before or after events. So the group can be used to coordinate those meetings. Filani also mentioned a lot of opportunities to share information that can be used by the Gce Secretariat. So using the WhatsApp group to share videos and photos directly from events, and also short summaries in the form of files. That's really useful. But I also think that this WhatsApp group can be key in sharing some of the more informal intelligence that we receive from our both national and global advocacy work related to the different commitments and call to actions. So being able to do a more efficient job in tracking different commitments made during events, it would be really useful to share this information in the group as well. And hopefully it will it will work out, and we will avoid further burying all of our email inboxes with a lot of information. But we'll just see how it works out, and hopefully it will work smoothly and we're able to connect. Yeah. And then I think, sorry, just one last point. And then I think we have to get back to how we're reconnecting again on after tests, and also how we can relate all of this into our coming preparations for the World Assembly meeting. Yeah, you might touch upon this in the end as well. Thanks.
Great, thank you so much. Yes, I think David shared in the chat some ideas on linking tests to the World Assembly as well. So that's perfect. Great way to bring this all together. We have a few minutes for discussion, information sharing, announcements, tips and advice. If you haven't been to New York around UNGA or whatnot in the past, please, of course, wear very comfortable shoes. Be ready for lots of walking, all types of weather, any other advice that people might have as well for navigating. I know for people who maybe haven't been before, that might be helpful, but connecting in real time through that WhatsApp group will also help everybody. Thanks to everyone who's already joined. So far, we have a few questions. Werner, if you might be able to come in. I think one of the questions from Robbie is, can we find out more about the process and timeline for the political statement? And this might be related to both GCE's planned response and statement, as well as anything that we might know about the TES vision statement, which initially was being called the chair's statement. We understand that that will be developed as sort of a summary after the, perhaps coming out on the 19th or thereafter. But Werner, you've been coordinating really closely with key colleagues across the UN. So over to you.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. Yes, indeed. We have just shared the link for your inputs to for the GC political statement. So if you can share your ideas by the 13th of September, that would be fantastic. This statement should be approved by the GC board. That's why we are requesting with enough time in advance your inputs. So having your views and your suggestions on how to frame the GC political statement would be fantastic. We really believe that needs to be a participatory process, and yes, we will be very happy. It will be a short statement. I mean, we cannot just come up with 5 pages, but we think that we should, deliver a very strong statement on how we see this process, on how we see government obligations regarding the different 5 action tracks. And for this, you have also not only the action tracks final documents, but also our comments on the outcomes of this process. So just take a look and share with us the information. And yes, as you said, we have provided some comments, thanks to Helen and to Rifat, on the vision statement by the UN Secretary General as well. Thank you.
Super helpful. Thank you so much. And Meg with results has a question about if anybody knows of a mechanism for tracking policy developments that occur after tests or tracking implementation on political commitments. And Meg, great question. I think it's also not clear about the commitments themselves as they're being made on the 19th of September at on the Leaders' Day. So if anybody's planning to do tracking live, that has sometimes been helpful across civil society advocates to split that up. If somebody's already planning to do that at ActionAid or Results or the like, maybe that's an area that we could quickly collaborate around. A lot of those commitments and speeches will probably be coming through concurrently, potentially, depending on the final schedule. So no one person will probably be able to capture everything, but maybe we can do that together. And then we've all been advocating, and I think we should continue to do so, for that accountability as a point itself with the overarching test organizers, right? Knowing how busy they are just putting tests on, but like the Global Disability Summit did in February, for example, it's really critical that there be a repository for the commitments that everybody is making and a process for implementation and reporting back. Does anybody else want to come in on that? A great suggestion in the chat about a joint spreadsheet where we could maybe, people can add alongside the meetings as commitments are announced. Absolutely, if you'd like to start that, that would be so helpful. If anybody else has plans for ways to track that information, please let us know. And then on Sergio, thanks for your question, for the details about the event on the 21st that World Vision is kindly hosting. With apologies, I think the Tony Baker at World Vision will be the point of contact for RSVPs, but we will share that as soon as we have more information. They just confirmed the space. But maybe Stephanie, if you're able to share that in the chat, that would be great. We do have the time slot. It's 10:30 a.m. to 12 East Coast time on the 21st. There's this request to hold an engine room discussion. So it will be following up from the education and emergencies and tests focused discussions to then help plan together for the Education Cannot Wait high-level financing conference in February, and to make sure that our advocacy doesn't end after tests, but we use it as a launching pad as well. Thank you, everybody. Any other key questions or discussion, feel free to either come in the chat, or I believe within the Zoom webinar function, if you raise your hand, that will allow for people to come off mute as well. Panelists and colleagues, anything else that you think would be helpful to share? We see that there's a comment that the Global Book Alliance has a position paper on the need to promote access and use of more printed and digital books for all children. Where can that position paper be posted? Palani, do you want to share your contact information for how people can reach you with any sort of communications or advocacy materials that would be relevant? Would that be the best way for that information to be shared?
Yeah, that's okay. I will just drop my contacts in the chat box.
Beautiful, thank you so much. And we're grateful to all of you for the amazing work that you're doing. There's a question from Meg saying statements will also be published. Is that right? So maybe there's a way to track key statements within them as we look towards test outcomes and political commitments. So we understand that some of the governments are publishing their statements, but I'm not sure if all of them will be. I see that there were some earlier questions like what's happening with my government in particular, what's happening with Nigeria, what's happening in this particular country. We did share the link and we can share it again for where you can find the national commitments on the TESS website that have already been published. But that can also be an advocacy point that you can use to try to make sure that from an accountability standpoint, the speech and also any commitment and reports from consultations that might have been held or will be held, those are all published. But please, I see the hand raised, come in, perhaps you have an answer there.
Thanks, Jennifer. Just quickly to say that there is a deadline for national governments to submit their written statements ahead of the 19th and the Leaders Summit, but they do have a chance to make amendments and adjustments to their statements. So even if they do submit something in writing ahead of the 19th, what they will actually present on the 19th may have changed. So I think the best way to track is actually to get in touch with the governments to ask them to send the written remarks, or if they are actively publishing their remarks on their own government websites. And then they might be asked by the UN and the TESS Secretariat to hand in the final version of the written remarks as well. But I do think it will be really useful if we're able to track as much as possible while we are in New York, just to get an overview of which commitments are made, and also if there is a need to do some immediate follow-up once we are there, if we're able to have lobby meetings, advocacy meetings directly with governments. And then I think it's, in terms of national advocacy, it would be really useful for some of the national coalitions. If you do need support, I think a first step is to share the GCE global key messages with everyone, and then also to get shared information of what you would like to prioritize from your country specific situation. And if we're all aware of what the key national advocacy asks are for the different countries, we can also help to support. If we happen to be in a meeting where reps from Nigeria are present, we could try to connect you with them, or a different country, just mentioning like one example now, but I think that could be really useful and something we can try to coordinate further in the WhatsApp group. Thanks.
Perfect, great ideas. Please go ahead.
Jennifer, I think David Archer had a question. I just promoted him, so he is able to speak.
Great, thank you. Please go ahead, David.
Yeah, no, it's not so much a question, but just a comment. Look, I think I've been working on behalf of GCE in the convening the finance track. And I do think it's remarkable how much of that agenda has seemed to cut through completely. And we've now, in the latest version of the UN Secretary General's vision statement, it's pretty strongly embedded, and even more so in the framing of the agenda for the finance session on the 19th with presidents and heads of state. So I think there's a huge potential for us to, as a movement, follow up on that agenda, which has really emerged from the GCE movement over the last few years, which absolutely focuses on the domestic financing agenda, plus international action to unblock the obstacles to the domestic financing agenda through action on tax justice, debt justice, and challenging austerity and addressing public sector wage bill constraints. So I hope that you can all join the finance session, but I think more importantly, it is crucial for how we as a movement look at how to follow up this agenda, the whole agenda of TESS at the World Assembly in November. And I think we ought to be looking to have dedicated sessions to specifically how to follow up TESS, possibly inviting some non-members of GCE into that discussion, because it's all about broadening and extending the movement. So looking forward to further discussions on that in the, and seeing many of you are hopefully in New York next week. Thanks.
Thank you, David. In our last minute, just to say thank you to all of you, and if anybody else wants to come in briefly, but clearly more to be done, and we hope this was helpful as people are starting to travel or prepare to cover what you can online, either way, in person, hybrid, or virtually. And thank you so much, Stephanie, for sharing your contact information. She's based in New York, as well. And we're really grateful to all of you for your collaboration, your advocacy. Let's continue the conversation. We'll share as well the GCE US monthly coalition meeting on Monday. We do have colleagues from GPE, ECW, and others coming to share not just what they're doing this month, but then we're hoping that will be a way for them to preview what they're doing at TES as well. So we saw your question on that, Meg. So let's continue to share information. And again, we're just so grateful to all of you. You're expert advocates and partners, and the work that you're doing is making a big difference. We hope to see many of you very soon, either online or in New York. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, colleagues. I'm looking forward to continue working with you all. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. See you in New York.